Hey everyone, this is your stimulus check update, second stimulus check update, and stimulus package update for Tuesday, November 3rd. This video is for those of you on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, and VA benefits, and for anyone else wondering about the second stimulus check and the stimulus package negotiations. I hope you're having a great week so far. Today is Election Day, November 3rd, where we are able to elect the leaders that will represent us in Washington, the presidency and the House of Representatives and the Senate. Even though our country has plenty of problems, we are still the greatest country in the world, in my opinion, and I'm so grateful that we have the opportunity to vote and to choose those representatives that will represent us. Hopefully you've been doing your research and are ready to vote today, and that you will go out and vote today. We do complain a lot of times about how Congress is not doing their job, so get out there and vote today, and make sure that you vote for those candidates that you feel will best represent you in Washington. In this video, I'm going to be going over the second stimulus check, the current state of the stimulus negotiations, and last, how the election and a few certain dates are going to affect the stimulus check and when we will possibly get it. I want to welcome back those subscribed members of my channel. Thank you once again for watching. If you haven't subscribed already, my name is Justin and I do stimulus check updates, as well as tell you about your Social Security benefits and what may be changing, as well as teach you how to save money and make money. So if any of those topics interest you, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified each and every time I upload a new video. And if you find this content helpful, be sure to hit the like button so that YouTube will share this video with others like you. We've been hearing about a second stimulus check for months now. It has been a roller coaster ride of ups and downs. Feels like we're getting super close to a deal, and then all of the talks fall apart and nothing happens. Back on March 27th, President Trump signed into law the CARES Act, which was a bipartisan effort and a bipartisan stimulus package that gave everybody the $1,200 stimulus checks. It has now been 7 months since that was passed, and yet we still do not have another stimulus deal. And while the economy has shown some signs of recovery, it is still a long ways to go from where we need to be. And in addition to that, there are still millions of Americans that are struggling because of this pandemic. President Trump has called for more stimulus checks. Nancy Pelosi has called for more stimulus checks, and even Mitch McConnell has called for more stimulus checks. Those are really the three people that have to decide that a next stimulus package will happen. President Trump this past week said that he would pass a tremendous stimulus package immediately after the election. Nancy Pelosi yesterday, when interviewed by NPR, also suggested that we need a stimulus package sooner rather than later. And when she was asked about waiting until after the first of the year, she said, "I certainly hope not, because American people need us to act now." And she continued, "We must act upon it. We owe it to the American people." While Nancy Pelosi is calling for stimulus checks and a stimulus package before the first of the year, the big question continues to be, can they come together on a deal that will actually be agreed to by both sides? Last week, Nancy Pelosi sent a letter to Stephen Mnuchin, which actually got leaked out to the press before Mnuchin actually even saw the letter. Well, in his response to that letter, he decided to kind of give his side of the story. In that letter, he said, "While you accuse the administration," meaning the Trump administration, "of holding up the negotiations, you refuse to bring it to the floor of the House standalone legislation to support airline workers, additional Paycheck Protection Program payments to small businesses, and additional direct payments, or stimulus checks, that we can fund by using already approved money that we have not spent. Your all or none approach is hurting hardworking Americans who need help now." So Mnuchin is referring to the fact that Nancy Pelosi does not want standalone bills, basically a standalone bill to give money to airline workers, or a standalone bill to renew the unemployment benefits, or PPP funding, or even a standalone bill to give out stimulus checks to individuals. And Mnuchin is also suggesting, as President Trump has, that they use already allocated funds from previous bills that were already passed, but use those already allocated funds to give some of these programs and also stimulus checks out to individuals. This is something that President Trump was trying to do via executive order, meaning he was trying to send out stimulus checks with funds that had already been allocated for other stimulus measures. But it seems like his legal team was not able to figure out a way for him to do that. And so he decided not to do an executive order for stimulus checks. I think if he had been able to figure out a way to do it legally, he would have done it. But basically, Mnuchin is defending their position when Pelosi comes out and basically says, hey, it's the Trump administration that's holding up negotiations. Mnuchin said, not so fast. These are all the things that we have done, but we are waiting for you to come down and meet us a little bit of a compromise. The Trump administration has come up from $1 trillion to 1.5, 1.7, 1.8, and basically 1.9 to be right by Nancy Pelosi's $2.2 trillion number. Nancy Pelosi has not budged down at all from that $2.2 trillion. And in addition to this, there are allocated funds from previous bills that have not been used. So Mnuchin is saying, hey, we already have all this money. Let's give a $1,200 stimulus check or a stimulus check out to the American people and just use funds that have already been allocated from previous bills. If they were to do that, I think the Senate would go along with that right away and basically say, hey, this money's already been allocated and already been set aside to be used for stimulus. Let's give it out to the American people. But Pelosi has basically rejected that idea and said, we don't want standalone bills. It's either a comprehensive, far-reaching bill or nothing. In addition to this, in his letter, Steven Mnuchin also brought up the fact that the Trump administration has reached out to the Problem Solvers Caucus to try and help broker this deal between them and Nancy Pelosi. Remember, the Problem Solvers Caucus came up with a $1.5 trillion deal that I thought was a great compromise for the two sides. It met in the middle on so many of the differences that they have previously had in these stimulus negotiations. But once again, Nancy Pelosi said, no, we aren't even going to look at that Problem Solvers deal. It does not do enough for the American people, even though it actually promised 2 stimulus checks if the economy didn't recover before March. I'm not sure how that's not enough for the American people when it's double basically what she is asking for with her $1,200 stimulus checks. Up until last week, Nancy Pelosi and Steven Mnuchin were meeting basically every day for a month and a half. And they were working on the details of a deal, and it sounded like a deal was possibly going to get done, and then they would come back and say, no, a deal's not ready yet. And they would basically kind of point the finger at each other, and this is where we continue to be. Obviously, it has been frustrating, and I still can't believe we don't have a stimulus deal done yet. So with the election today, how is that going to affect the stimulus check and the stimulus package negotiations going forward? Well, I want to go over a few of the dates and kind of a timeline of when stimulus checks could happen. First off, today obviously is election day, November 3rd. So depending on, if President Trump is reelected or if Joe Biden wins, that will have bearing on when a stimulus check could come through. President Trump did say this past week that he wants a stimulus package deal done right after the election. I'm assuming that's if he wins the election. If he doesn't win, it would be a lame duck president and a lame duck Congress that would have to pass a stimulus deal, and I think that's a pretty slim chance. So if President Trump doesn't win, my guess is it's probably not going to happen until after January. So today, election day, be sure to get out and vote. Vote for those people that you think will best represent us in Washington. After Election Day, the next kind of big date is December 11th. That is when Congress has to pass the next spending bill. They pushed that back until December 11th, but December 11th, if they don't pass a bill, the government will shut down and non-essential government operations will completely shut down. So they have to pass a spending bill before then. The question is, will they tack on some stimulus onto that spending bill? They could add a stimulus check to that spending bill. They could add PPP funding or extend the eviction moratorium on that spending bill. There are a lot of things they could do with that spending bill. However, I don't think it's a very good chance that something is going to be passed with that spending bill. With Nancy Pelosi not wanting to pass standalone bills, I don't think that's something she's really going to want to do, is tack something onto a spending bill that's going to go through, because both sides realize they don't want a government shutdown at this point. But it is possible that something could be tacked on. After December 11th, the next big day is kind of January 3rd. That's when Congress is back in session, and it's the new Congress with the new senators and representatives that have been voted into office. So then there's from January 3rd until January 20th, when either President Trump is kind of in his last few weeks of his presidency, or he's getting ready for his next 4-year term. But depending on how all of those races, both in the House, the Senate, and the presidency, shake out, it could have a big bearing on when stimulus happens and if it happens during that January 3rd through January 20th window. It is possible that something could be passed in that window as well. And then obviously on January 20th, either President Trump is reelected or Joe Biden is our new president. Remember, in 2016, right now, as we're seeing, the polls are showing that Joe Biden is in a pretty substantial lead, at least in a lot of states that are kind of swing states. However, back in 2016, we saw something similar. And on the night of the election, there were people that were shocked and just could not believe what had happened as President Trump was winning states that he had basically been given no chance in winning. So the question is, will we see a repeat of 2016 or will we see a new president? Well, it is up to you, America. You need to get out and vote for the people that you feel will best represent you in Washington. I'm not going to suggest which candidate you should vote for, but you should vote for the candidate that you feel is best going to represent you in Washington. It is a privilege to get out there and vote. Not all countries even have a vote or even have elections. So I know some of you may be thinking, oh, I hate all of them. I don't want to vote for any of them. Well, that's fine. Vote for somebody else that's not in power then. If you don't like the way Congress is doing things, then vote them out. Vote for a new House or a new Senate. That is our obligation. If you like what President Trump has been doing, then vote for President Trump. If you don't, then don't vote for him. But the thing is, you do need to get out and vote, and it's both a privilege and a responsibility as an American citizen. I do appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you once again for watching, and I will be watching the election just like all of you will, and I will keep you up to date on all the latest with stimulus and with everything else that's going on in our country. Thank you once again for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you again soon.